Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you very much for joining. We are going to continue with Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto. We're on chapter 5. I'd like to seek your good wishes and your blessings so that we may dive into the nectar of this incredible scripture, which is so definitive in its injunctions. Now, we last week discussed, let's have a look, what did we discuss? We discussed why Srila Vyasadeva was particularly disturbed and how Narad Muni came on the scene at that time. And this week we will look at Narad Muni's instructions on the Srimad Bhagavatam for Srila Vyasadeva. Very important instructions. And I'd like to welcome Ananda Leela, who will recite the Sanskrit. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna and Dandavat Pranam to all devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Shri Nityananda Chandram Patita Sharanadam Gauradam Tam Bhajeham Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Giridhar Shirvasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sutta uvacha Athatam sukham asina Upasinam brihakshravaha Devarshi praha vriprarsim Vinapani smayan iva.
Sutta Goswami said, thus the sage among the gods, Narad, comfortably seated and apparently smiling, addressed the rishis among the Brahmins, Vedvyas.
Narada uvacha Parasarya Mahabhaga Bhavata Kachid Atmana Paritushati Sharira Atma Manasa Eva Va.
Addressing Vyasadeva, the son of Parasar, Narad inquired, are you satisfied by identifying with the body or the mind as objects of self-realization?
Jigyasitam susampanam apite mahad adbhutam kvitvavan bharatam yastvam sarvartha paribramhitam.
Your inquiries were full and your studies were also well fulfilled. But there's no doubt that you have prepared a great and wonderful work, the Mahabharata, which is full of all kinds of Vedic sequences elaborately explained.
Jigyasitam adhitam cha brahmayat sanatanam tathapi sochashi atmanam akritartha iva prabho.
You have fully delineated the subject of impersonal Brahman as well as the knowledge derived therefrom. Why should you be despondent in spite of all this, thinking that you are undone, my dear Prabhu?
So this is Narad Muni is asking Vyasadeva, because Vyasadeva has expressed that he's not feeling very happy in writing, not feeling fully satisfied in writing the Vedas, writing all the different script Puranas, the Mahabharata. So Narad Muni is just sort of teasing him. Why aren't you happy? You've described the formless aspect of the Lord. So why aren't you happy? And then Vyasadeva answers.
Vyasa uvacha Ashtevami sarvam idam tvayuktam tathapi natma paritushyati me tanmulam avyaktam agadha bodham Kitham Prichamhe Tvatma Bhavatma Bhutam.
Sri Vyasdev said, all you have said about me is perfectly correct. Despite all this, I'm not pacified. I therefore question you about the root cause of my dissatisfaction, for you are a man of unlimited knowledge due to your being the offspring of Brahma, who is self-born, without mundane father and mother.
So Vyasdev is immediately taking shelter of Narad Muni, accepting him as his guru.
Savai bhavam veda samasta guhyam upasito yat purushaha puranaha paravariso manasaiva vishvam srijati avati ati gunera sangaha.
My Lord, everything that is mysterious is known to you because you worship the creator and destroyer of the material world and the maintainer of the spiritual world, the original personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to the three modes of material nature.
I love the way you're singing the verses. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhu. Tvam pariyatan arkaiva trilokim antascharo vayurivatma sakshi paravare brahmani dharmato vratai snatasya minyunam malam vichakshva.
Like the sun, your goodness can travel everywhere in the three worlds. And like you, the air you can penetrate the internal region of everyone. As such, you are as good as the all-pervasive super soul. Please therefore find out the deficiency in me, despite my being absorbed in transcendence under disciplinary regulations and vows.
And he asks him for help. Vyasdev is asking for help from Narad Muni.
Shri Narada Uvacha Bhavatanudita Prayam Yasho Bhagavato Malam Yanaivaso Natusheta Manyetad Darshanam Khilam.
Sri Narad said, you have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. That philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord is considered worthless.
So Narad Muni immediately corrects his disciple. He's telling him, this is where you've gone wrong. Yes, it's great. You've written the Vedas and the Mahabharata and the Puranas, but you've not actually glorified the Supreme Lord.
Yatha dharmadaya chartha muni varya nukirtitaha na tatha vasudevasya mahimahi anuvarnitaha.
Although great sage, you have very broadly described the four principles, beginning with religious performances. You have not described the glories of the Supreme Personality, Vasudeva.
Na yadvachaschitra padam hariryaso jagat pavitram pragranita karhichit tadvayasam tirtham ushanti manasa nayatraham sanira manti ushikshayaha.
Those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows. Since the all-perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there.
Tadvag vishargo janatagha viplavo yashmin pratislokam abadhavati api namani anantasya yashunkitani yat shanvanti gayanti grananti sadhavaha.
On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc. of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation full of transcendental words directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest.
This is the point about these scriptures, the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam. They create this revolution within the heart, which make the changes necessary for us to leave this world and go to the spiritual world. If a scripture does not do that, if the scripture does not cause that revolution to take place within our consciousness, our thinking, our hearts, then that scripture is not authorized. Simple as that, not authorized. The authorized scriptures are those which cause this revolution to take place so that we become closer to the Supreme. That's the whole point of scriptures. It's supposed to bring us closer to God, not take us away from God.
नैष्कर्म्यमपि अच्युतभाववर्जितं न शोभते ज्ञानम् अलं निरञ्जनं कुतः पुनः शाश्वत अभद्रम् ईश्वरे न चार्पितं कर्म यदपि अकारणम्.
Knowledge of self-realization, even though free from all material affinity, does not look well if devoid of a conception of the infallible God. What, then, is the use of fruitive activities, which are naturally painful from the very beginning and transient by nature, if they're not utilized for the devotional service of the Lord?
अथो महाभाग भवान् अमुघदृक् शुचिश्रवाः सत्यरतो धृतव्रतः उरुक्रमस्याखिला बन्धमुक्तये समाधिना सुस्मरतद् विचेष्टितम्.
O Vyasadev, your vision is completely perfect, your good fame is spotless, you are firm in vow and situated in truthfulness, and thus you can think of the pastimes of the Lord in trance for the liberation of the people in general from all material bondage.
ततो न्याथ किञ्चन यद्विवक्षतः पृथग् दृशस्तत्कृतरूप नामभिः न कर्हि चेत् क्वापि च दुष्टितामतिर्लभेत वाताह तनोरिवास्पदम्.
Whatever you desire to describe that is separate in vision from the Lord simply reacts with different forms, names, and results to agitate the mind, as the wind agitates a boat which has no resting place.
No, just one second. So whatever you desire to describe that is separate in vision from the Lord simply reacts to agitate the mind. So when we read, for example, for our own enjoyment, novels or newspapers, for our own enjoyment, not for information, for our own enjoyment, we're just agitating the mind unnecessarily. This is the point.
जुगुप्सितं धर्म कृतेऽनुशासतः स्वभावरक्तस्य महान् व्यतिक्रमः यद्वाक्यतो धर्म इत्येतरस्थितो न मन्यते तस्य निवारणं जनः.
The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way in the name of religion. That is verily condemned and is quite unreasonable. Because they are guided under your instructions, they will accept such activities in the name of religion and will hardly care for prohibitions.
So this is where he's slightly chastising Vyasadev, because he's written the scriptures in a roundabout way. They sort of, the Lord is there, but he's in a hidden state, very difficult to penetrate to the Vedas. So in fact, most of the Vedas deal with karma kanda subjects, which are where you pray for fruits. So you do tapasya or you do sacrifice in return for something. It's a business transaction. It's not bhakti, it's business. So this is where he's condemning the work that Vyasadeva has so far done, because he's encouraging sense enjoyment as opposed to dedication to the Supreme Lord.
विचक्षणोऽस्यार्हति वेदितुं विभोर् अनन्तपारस्य निवृत्तितः सुखम् प्रावर्तमानस्य गुणैरनात्मनस्ततो भवान् दर्शय चेष्टितं विभोः.
The Supreme Lord is unlimited. Only a very expert personality, retired from the activities of material happiness, deserves to understand this knowledge of spiritual values. Therefore, those who are not so well situated due to material attachment should be shown the ways of transcendental realization by your goodness, through descriptions of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord.
So we take a little break there. Just quickly go through some of the points made. First 7 verses, we went through. Narad Muni asks why Vyasadeva is not satisfied. Krishna and Vyasadeva explains his despondency, and he asks Narad Muni for help. And then the next few verses, number 16, which is what we read, Narad Muni chastises Vyasadeva. He indicates to him that because he has not described the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna, he is feeling dissatisfied. Those words that do not describe the glories of the Lord are like a place of pilgrimage for crows. So whatever we're reading, if it's not connected with the Lord, unless it's for education or information, if it's for our own sense enjoyment, we're reading something because it's, a storybook, because we want to pass our time enjoying, really we're wasting our time, wasting our life. And that's a place of pilgrimage for crows. People in general will be guided by Vyas and accept his writings in the name of religion. Therefore, Narada advised Vyas that he should describe the transcendental activities of the Lord, because that will bring about a revolution in the lives of the impious. Literature which does not describe bhakti will only agitate the mind, whereas transcendental literature will bring about a change of heart for the materialist. That's the whole idea of scriptures, to bring about this change from a miserly mood, attitude, to one of openness and freedom, really, so that one can become close to the Supreme Lord and also his devotees. That's the whole point of scriptures, to bring us closer to God. But it doesn't mean we become close to God and we forget everybody else. No, everybody's included in this scenario, but especially God is, of course. So let's look at the next few verses. Okay.
त्यक्त्वा स्वधर्मं चरणाम्बुजं हरे भजन् अपक्वोत्थपते ततो यदि यत्र क्व वा भद्रम् अभूत् अमुष्य किं को वार्थाप्तो भजतां स्वधर्मतः.
One who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage, yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything.
So this is really amazing. Narad Muni is explaining, even if somebody takes to this spiritual path and is not successful for whatever, because it's not easy. It's not an easy path. We live in a world full of temptations and full of people running down spirituality, the whole education system is geared towards the Big Bang and materialism. So it's not surprising if somebody who starts on this path later on may not be able to continue it. So what is Narad Muni saying? That person has not lost. There's no danger of his being unsuccessful. But that person who doesn't even make an attempt, but is completely successful in material duties, he doesn't gain anything. So there's no loss by taking this spiritual path. That's the whole point, even if we're not successful. But there's every loss. If we take a material path, even if we gain the whole world, we lost ourselves.
Tasyaiva heto prayate kovido nalabhyate yad brahmatam upari adaha talabhyate dukhavad anyatah sukham kalena sarvatra ghabiraramhasa.
Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end, which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet, Brahmlok, down to the lowest planet, Patal. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time, just as in course of time we obtain miseries even though we do not desire them.
Very interesting verse. So happiness and distress come automatically. We don't have to endeavor separately for material happiness, material distress. It'll come and it'll go.
Na vai janu jatu kathanchana vrajen mukunda sevyanyavad anga samsritim smaran mukundangri upaguhanam punar vihatumichan narasagraho janaha.
My dear Vyas, even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes falls down somehow or other, he certainly does not undergo material existing like others, such as fruitive workers, etc. Because a person who has once relished the taste of the lotus feet of the Lord can do nothing but remember the ecstasy again and again.
So just a little pause here, because these are really important verses. These are only 3 verses, but they really do give some very instructive spiritual guidance. Krishna uplifts fallen souls. One who forsakes his material occupations to engage in bhakti of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage, yet there is no danger of him being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee fully engaged in occupational duties does not gain anything. One should not waste time in pursuit of material happiness. It'll come, and distress will come. We don't ask for it, but it's going to come. But should perform bhakti, because it is never lost. And the Lord always protects it. Even a little bhakti can protect us. And the example is of Ajamil. Ajamil comes in the 6th canto. Hopefully we'll get to the 6th canto at some point. But that is an example of somebody right at the end of their life approached Lord in the sense of he chanted the name of Narayan, not even the Lord Narayan, his son's name Narayan. Yet the Lord sent his messengers to protect that man. So this shows even a little bhakti, even done accidentally, can protect us. Okay.
Idam hi vishvam bhagavani vetaro yato jagasthana nirodha sambhavah tadhi swayam veda bhavams tathapite pradeshamatram bhavatah pradarshitam.
The Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead, is himself this cosmos, and still he is aloof from it. From him only has this cosmic manifestation emanated. In him it rests, and unto him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows all about this. I have given only a synopsis.
Tvam atmanatmanam avihi amoghadrik Parasya pumsaha paramatmanah kalam ajam prajatam jagataha shivayatan mahanubhava bhuyodayo dighanyatam.
Your goodness has perfect vision. You yourself can know the super soul personality of Godhead because you are present as a plenary portion of the Lord. Although you are birthless, you have appeared on this earth for the well-being of all people. Please, therefore, describe the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, more vividly.
So here Narad Muni is establishing Vyasdev's position. He is actually an avatar of the Supreme Lord. So he is never under illusion, but he has manifested this position so that we can learn from how even the incarnation of the Lord takes a guru. We all need a guru. Even God sets the example of taking a spiritual guru.
Idam hi pumsas tapasaha shrutasya va shristasya suktasya cha vibudhi datayo avichutoritaha kavibhi nirupito yad uttama sloka gunanu varnanam.
Learned circles have positively concluded that the infallible purpose of the advancement of knowledge, namely austerities, study of the Vedas, sacrifice, chanting of hymns and charity, culminates in the transcendental descriptions of the Lord who is defined in choice poetry.
So just a quick update on those 3 verses. The Supreme Lord is himself this cosmos, and yet he is aloof from it. This is the inconceivable nature of the Lord. He is this cosmos, this universe, yet he's also above it. From him, the manifestation emanates. In him it rests. Onto him it enters after annihilation. Thus, all advancement of knowledge, that is austerity, study of the Vedas, chanting of hymns, charity, they culminate in the transcendental descriptions of Krishna. So when we, in other words, bhakti or glorification of Krishna includes everything, includes austerity, includes study of the Vedas, includes chanting of hymns, includes charity. That's how important it is.
Aham puratita bhave bhavam mune dasyastu kasyaschana veda vadinam nirupito balaka eva yoginam susrusane pravrasi nirvivikshatam.
O Muni, in the last millennium, I was born as the son of a certain maidservant engaged in the service of Brahmins who were following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during the 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service.
Te mai apeta khila chapale bhake dante dhrita kridda nakenu vartini chakru kripam yadyapi tulya darshanah susru samana munayo ipabhashini.
Although they were impartial by nature, those followers of the Vedanta blessed me with their causeless mercy. As far as I was concerned, I was self-controlled and had no attachment for sports, even though I was a boy. In addition, I was not naughty and I did not speak more than required.
Just he's giving a little biography of himself.
Uchishtalepan anumodita dvijay sakrit sma bhunje tadapashta kilbishaha evam pravartasya vishuddha chetashash तद्धर्मैवात्मा रुचिः प्रजायते.
Once only by that permission, I took the remnants of the food, and by so doing, all my sins were at once eradicated. Thus, being engaged, I became purified in heart, and at that time, the very nature of the transcendentalist became attractive to me.
तत्रान्वहं कृष्ण कथाः प्रगायताम् अनुग्रहेण श्रवणं मनोहराः ताः श्रद्धयामि नुपदं वृषन्वतः प्रिय श्रवस्यङ्गममा भवद्रुचिः.
O Vyasadev, in that association and by the mercy of those great Vedantists, I could hear them describe the attractive activities of Lord Krishna, and thus listening attentively, my taste for hearing of the personality of Godhead increased at every step.
तस्मिंस्तदा लब्धरुचिर्महामते प्रिया श्रवस्य स्खलितामतिर्मम ययाहमेतत् सदसत् स्वमायया पश्ये मयि ब्राह्मणि कल्पितं परे.
O great sage, as soon as I got a taste of the personality of Godhead, my attention to hear of the Lord was unflinching. And as my taste developed, I could realize that it was only in my ignorance that I had accepted gross and subtle coverings. Both the Lord and I are transcendental.
इत्थं सरत् प्राव्रसिकावृतु हरे वृषन्वतु मे नुशवं यशोमलं संकीर्त्यमानं मुनिभिर्महात्मभिः भक्ति प्रवर्तात्मरजस्तमोपहा.
Thus, during 2 seasons, the rainy season and autumn, I had the opportunity to hear those great-souled sages constantly chant the unadulterated glories of the Lord Hari. As the flow of my devotion service began, the coverings of the modes of passion and ignorance vanished.
तस्यैवं मेनुरक्तस्य प्रासृतस्य हतेन सह श्रद्धानस्य बालस्य दान्तस्यानुचरस्य च.
I was very much attached to the sages. I was gentle in behavior. All my sins were eradicated in their service. In my heart, I had strong faith in them. I had subjugated the senses, and I was strictly following them with body and mind.
ज्ञानं गुह्यतमां यत्तत् साक्षात् भगवतोदितम् अन्ववोचन् गमिष्यन्तः कृपयादिना वत्सलाः.
As they were leaving, those Bhakti Vedantas, who were very kind to poor-hearted souls, instructed me in that most confidential subject, which is instructed by the personality of Godhead himself.
येनैवाहं भगवतो वासुदेवस्य वेदसः मायानुभावमविदं येन गच्छन्ति तत्पदम्.
By that confidential knowledge, I could understand clearly the influence of the energy of Lord Shri Krishna, the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of everything. By knowing that, one can return to him and personally meet him.
So a quick pause at this point. So Narad Muni is just giving an example of his own situation. In his previous life, Narad was the son of a maidservant engaged in the service of learned Vedantist Brahmins. By their association, he gained a taste for hearing about Krishna. He gained strong faith in them and strictly followed them. When the sages left, they instructed him in confidential knowledge of Krishna. So we're going to have a very special person now reading the translation, the English translation. and she is a future Sanskrit scholar. She knows the 12th and 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita by heart. Very impressive young lady. So Shavi, but first let Ananda Leela read the translation, the Sanskrit, and then you can read the English.
Etat samsuchitam brahmam tapatraya chikitsitam yadishvare bhagavati karma brahmani bhavitam.
Brahmana Vyasadeva, it is decided by the learned that the best remedial measure for removing all troubles and miseries is to dedicate one's activities to the service of the Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna.
Thank you. So this is really nice words. If we want to remove our troubles and miseries, and is there anybody in this world who has no troubles and miseries apart from Shavi? There won't be. How do we remove them? Dedicate one's activities to the service of Krishna. Do bhakti.
Amayo yasya bhutanam jayate yena suvrata tad eva hi amayam. Tad eva hi amayam dravyam na punati chikitsitam.
O good soul, does not a thing applied therapeutically cure a disease which was caused by the very same thing?
Evam nrinam kriya yogaha sarve samsriti hetavaha ta evatma vinasaya kalpante kalpitaha pare.
Thus, when all a man's activities are dedicated to the service of the Lord, those very activities which caused his perpetual bondage became a destroyer of the tree of work.
Yad atra kriyate karma bhagavat paritosanam jnanam yattad adhinam hi bhakti yoga samanvitam.
Whatever work is done here in this life for the satisfaction of the mission of the Lord is called Bhakti Yoga, or transcendental loving service to the Lord. And what is called knowledge becomes a concomitant factor.
Kurvana yatra karmani bhagavat chikshaya sakrit grinanti guna namani krishnasya nushmaranti cha.
While performing duties according to the order of Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one constantly remembers him, his names and his qualities.
Wonderful. So, very quick break again. Attraction for Krishna by hearing. Narad then explains that anyone can become attracted to Krishna. Nobody is barred. When all of one's activities are dedicated to serving Krishna, even our normal activities, we can dovetail them from being mundane activities to activities which serve Krishna. Then the very acts which cause bondage become liberating. And a very good example is eating. We can eat and it'll bind us to this world. Or we can do the same act of eating, but after offering the food to Krishna, that becomes prasad. Everything we eat is prasad. That liberates us. All we have to do is offer it to the Lord. And the offering does not have to be very complex. So we're doing the same act. One is going to bind us to this world. The other is going to liberate us. By performing duties for the Lord, one constantly remembers him. So now the last part of this chapter.
Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumnaya Nirudhaya Namaha Sankarsanaya Cha.
Let us all chant the glories of Vasudeva along with his plenary expansions, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarsana.
Iti murtyabhidhanena mantramurtim amurtikam yajate yajna purusham sa samyak darshanah puman.
Thus, he is the actual seer who worships, in the form of transcendental sound representation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, has no material form.
Imam swanigamam brahmam avityamad anushtitam adan me jnanam aishwaryam swashmin bhavam cha keshavaha.
O Brahmana, thus by the Supreme Lord Krishna, I was endowed first with transcendental knowledge of the Lord as inculcated in the confidential parts of the Vedas, then with the spiritual opulences, and then with his intimate loving service.
Tvam api adhabra shuta vrishutam vibho samapyate yena vidam bubuchitam prakyahi dukhe muhurarditatmanam sanklesha nirvana mushanti nanyatha. Hare Krishna.
Well done. Amazing.
Therefore, describe the Almighty Lord's activities which you have learned by your vast knowledge of the Vedas, for that will satisfy the hankerings of great learned men, and at the same time might mitigate the miseries of the masses of common people who are always suffering from material pangs.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Let me go back 1 second. Okay, go for it.
Indeed, there is no other way to get out of such miseries.
Thank you so much, JB. When you read, it's so nice. I feel so tension-free. So thank you so much. And come every time, okay? I love you to read every time if you are able to. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Selvi ki jai.
Very good.
Anand Leela Mataji ki jai, Jayanti Mataji ki jai, Prabhuji ki jai.
Nice, very nice. So thank you
Jai.
so much. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Bhagavan ki jai. So then the last part of this chapter, Narad recalls how he made spiritual progress. First, he was endowed with confidential knowledge of the Lord. So he was given knowledge by the sages, then with spiritual opulences, and then with intimate loving service. He finally instructs Vyasdev to glorify Krishna for the benefit of great learned men and to alleviate the miseries of the masses of common people. So this is a very nice chapter which describes why it's so important to glorify the Supreme Lord and read literature which glorifies the Supreme Lord. If we're attached to reading mundane literature, that will not help us. This is where the revolution is required. The revolution takes place in the heart, in the consciousness, when we understand that our real interest is in trying to become attracted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the bona fide scriptures. And if we fail to do that in this life, it is a great loss for us. Only we lose, nobody else loses. Unfortunately, only we lose. So I wanted to open up the time for questions, if anybody has any questions. I know Puna Mataji, you said you have some questions. Please do feel free to ask.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. I might have some silly questions, Prabhuji.
No such thing. No such thing.
I mean, I am not very much aware of Shankarshana. I mean, I saw it in the slide as well in the previous chapters.
Yes.
Where again, you know, I mean, with Pradyumna, Shankarshana, and a couple of them, and then again, the
Aniruddha.
progeny is again the same. So I was a bit confused.
Let me see if I can find, where is that? Where is that? I'm just thinking, I've got a fantastic chart.
That was in chapter 2, I think.
Was it in chapter 2?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Oh, will I be able to find it quickly though? That's the problem. So I've got so many presentations now at the same time open. I get confused myself. Let me just see if I can find chapter 2. Basically, the way it works is there's Supreme Lord Shri Krishna is the Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. He's the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everybody else is in incarnation, but they're not any less than him. They're as powerful as him. Now, the first incarnation is Balaram. He's also known as Shankarshan. He's the original Shankarshan. And from Balaram comes the first quadruple, which is Vasudev, Shankarshan, Aniruddha, and Padumna. And from that Shankarshan comes Narayan. And from Narayan comes another Shankarshan, another quadruple. So effectively what they are, they're expansions of Krishna. That's what they are. They have different functions, different, like Balaram, his function is to please Krishna. He becomes all of the paraphernalia. He expands himself. He wants to serve Krishna, although he is not different from Krishna. But his mood is, I want to serve you, Krishna. So he is God, but he's a servitor God. He's an expansion of God. There's one God, he has many expansions. And his first expansion is Balaram. And Balaram is, as I said, also known as Shankarshan, also known as Anantashesh. He has many, many, many names. So this Sankarshan is simply an expansion of the Supreme Personality of God, Shri Krishna, the original Swayam Bhagwan. Does that make sense, Punamataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, and Prabhuji here about Narad Muni, you know, he mentioned about his previous life, you know, his previous birth. I mean, that was something new to me, to be honest, because for me, I mean, my understanding was that he is Brahma's son, and you know, that's it. I mean, there was no previous life attached to him. As
there was, and that's what he's explaining. And after getting this gyan, with Divya Gyan, he became Brahma's son. His next birth was as Brahma's son. But actually, he is the transcendental spaceman. He's eternally, he has a number of forms, if you like. He has this form, but he also has his eternal form of always being the transcendental spaceman. So he can oscillate between the spiritual and the material world very freely. But what he's demonstrating is that at some point, he also got this spiritual wisdom from the sages. He's encouraging Vyasadeva that before this time, I didn't have spiritual wisdom, but when I associated with these sages and they informed me about the Supreme Lord, I became spiritually enlightened. So he's saying to Vyas that you also do this service for mankind by giving them knowledge of the Supreme Personality of God, Sri Krishna, which will help them alleviate their troubles and miseries. So, but eternally, Narad Muni is a eternally liberated soul. He's not like us. in the sense that we are stuck in this material world. He's eternally liberated, but at the same time, he performs this pastime of being in ignorance and that's for the benefit of people like us, so that we can look at Narad Muni's life and remember, wow, actually, you know what? He got transcendental knowledge by associating with the sages, and he's become such a great devotee. So we have the same opportunity available to us. Narad Muni is encouraging us in the same way. But we are different from him. He's different from us. He's always eternally liberated. He's never in Maya, if you like. This can be a little confusing to understand. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely, Prabhuji. I like the word spaceman that you used for him, who oscillates between space and the earth. I mean, very nice way of explaining.
Thank you. Yeah, no, he's such an amazing personality, you know. And the beauty of him is even one moment's association with him can completely change one's consciousness. So, for example, there was this hunter, Mugrari. He loved killing animals and watching them die. And Narad Muni met him one time and he said to Mugrari, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm a hunter. This is my job. This is my enjoyment." "Oh," he said, "is that right?" Then he showed him his next life of being killed by the animals that he was killing now. And then Mugrari changed his consciousness within a moment, to the extent that the next time Narad Muni saw him, he saw him with Angira Muni. And Angira Muni was looking at Mugrari from a distance, and he was walking very funny. So Mugrari came towards Narad Muni, walking in this very funny way. And Narad Muni asked him, "Why are you walking such a funny way?" He said, "I just want to make sure I don't trample on any ants as I'm walking towards you." So you can see the change of consciousness from enjoying seeing animals die, killing animals and seeing them die, to not even wanting to hurt a little ant. So Narad Muni is extraordinarily powerful personality.
One last question.
Yes, no, please go ahead.
Today's Shloka 16.
Let me bring it.
Yes, please.
Yes.
In this sloka, therefore, those who are not so well situated due to material attachment should be shown the ways of transcendental realization by your goodness. Okay, only a very expert person. So my question is, I mean, is it referring to the varnashram, that system that we have? You know, well, balyavastha, brahmacharya, grihasthashram, and then vruddhashram. So is it in this shloka, is it referring to that varnashram pratha that we had?
No, that is a system by which God has devised for us to gradually develop spiritually. Yes, for sure. But here he's going beyond that. He's saying, if anybody is, even within the Varnashram system, they're happy materially, give them the ability that they can transcend even the Varnashram system. This is what Narad Muni is saying. Even within the Varnashram system, one can be very attached to the relationships one has in the Varnashram system. And the progress can be very, very slow towards the spiritual goal. However, what Narad Muni is saying here is, if you provide them with transcendental knowledge about the activities of the Lord, then they will be able to cut the material attachments very easily and even bypass Varnashram Dharma. This is the point he's saying. So when they say retire from activities of material happiness, it doesn't mean within the Varnashram system, Vanaprastha and then sannyas. No, even at any level, at brahmachari level, we can retire from the activities of material happiness, i.e., don't think that from material, our material life, we will become happy. We will never become happy. And that's what Narad Muni is saying. We know people will never be happy in this world. They deserve to understand spiritual values, the knowledge of spiritual values. And if you don't give it to them, who is going to give it to them? You, Ved Vyas, people depend on because they know you've written the scriptures, but you haven't described the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord. So you're denying them this easy access to spiritual life, which even bypasses the Varnashram system. It's a really powerful verse, actually.
Because even as a householder, you can be detached and still be doing everything as well. You know, you can be a sannyasi as a householder. A sannyasi is one who is detached from material activities. So living in the family, you can still be completely detached as well.
Can I ask Prabhu?
Yes.
Who is one fast? Fast is bhakti, or fast is live the material detachment? Who is one fast?
Very good. I.e., what can we achieve first, bhakti or material detachment? Material detachment is very difficult without bhakti. Bhakti is the root, the foundation. With bhakti, even if we are materially attached, bhakti will destroy it. Whereas if we're materially detached, but have no bhakti, we're still lost. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
So bhakti is paramount. We may be attached, we may even fall from the path of bhakti, but at least even if we've had 1% progress in bhakti, it is better than 100% progress in material life. So bhakti is very powerful. Right?
Yeah, because you have the example of the Jain monks. They actually, shave their heads and everything. They want to be detached from everything, from looking good, looking beautiful, things like that. But that detachment, is at the cost of bhakti, because they don't have any bhakti.
They may not have.
They may not have any bhakti. So, so bhakti is higher.
First higher.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu and Mataji.
Thank you. Any Purna Mataji, was that okay? The last point about the verse?
Yes, absolutely, Prabhuji. I was going in the wrong direction, so thank you very much.
No. It's no question of wrong direction. Definitely not. But Varnashram is also important. But yes, go ahead.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah, of course.
It might be like a backbencher's question. Please forgive me for
No,
that.
not at all.
So when here, it is said that misery will also come whether you invite it or not. Similarly, happiness will also come whether you invite it or not. Will bhakti come whether,
No.
without any efforts?
No.
Or if you are destined to?
No. Bhakti can only be given actually by Krishna.
Bhakti Devi.
Or Radharani. It cannot come so easily. It can come through the guru. It can come through the devotee. Prabhupada, he left his Vrindavan at the age of 70, right? And he was not a fit young man. He left for America without any possessions, knowing no friends, nothing at all. But he ignited the fire of bhakti in so many people in the West. How did they have access to this bhakti? It's almost inconceivable. This is the true mercy of the Lord. They didn't deserve it. Bhakti is something that somehow is by the causeless mercy of the Lord or his devotee. It won't just appear, but there has to be some
Catalyst.
to that. Yeah.
I mean, you could, build up some bhakti in this life.
Sukuti.
Yes, your punya karma. And also, you could add whatever bhakti you're doing in this life will stay. But in the next life, you can only continue if it's reignited or helped by a pure devotee.
Bhakti is hard to, it won't just come on its own accord, like happiness and distress, because that will just come and go.
That's according to your karma.
When bhakti comes, it stays. Even if you lose it, so-called, but you've never lost bhakti. This is the power of bhakti. That's why it's not something that comes and goes. Once it comes, it stays forever. It never leaves you. It may be unmanifested for a certain amount of time because Maya is strong and can cover you, but that bhakti is never lost. And that's why Krishna won't, see, he's controlled by bhakti. This is the point. Krishna is controlled by bhakti. He won't let anybody just have bhakti. He has to trust that person, that this person, I give him bhakti, but will he misuse it? It's so powerful. Bhakti is very, very, even 1/4% of bhakti can liberate the whole world. Prabhupada, he was a little man, he was a tiny little man. You see him sometimes, there's pictures of him or videos of him. He's a little man, and he's surrounded by these big sannyasis, his disciples. They're dancing like anything. He's just doing this, making them dance, the little man. But that little man, he had so much bhakti that he just transformed, practically speaking, the whole world, as far as I'm concerned. Extraordinary. So bhakti is very powerful.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
No, thank you. Thank you for your questions. And you certainly can ask anytime, any more, because this scripture really can open up the eyes and cause a big revolution in the heart. It completely revolutionized my world. When I bought this set of Bhagavatam 40 years ago, nearly, spent all night with my cousin looking at the pictures, all night, 30 books, the ones that you've got. And immediately there was a change in my consciousness. It didn't take too long. It was just this Bhagavatam just sort of, transported us into a different world. Amazing, amazing scripture, amazing scripture. And thank you for putting in the effort of listening to the previous classes. I really appreciate. That's one of the. It's sort of when somebody says that to us, it makes us feel right. What we're doing, it has some value. So thank you very, very much. So
Certainly, Prabhuji, I thank you and Mataji, from the bottom of my heart for having those recorded sessions. They are such a blessing in this time and age. It's a shame that I couldn't attend them, in person due to whatever reasons. But we have that knowledge, flowing with us, and that's amazing. So, Shat Shat Vandan to both of you.
No, thank you so much. Thank you for your blessings. Very important to us. Thank you for your good wishes. And Shavi was amazing as always. So thank God for us.
Poonam Mataji's question was very relevant.
Yeah.
Very, very relevant.
Very good questions. Thank you so much.
Nitai Gaura Haribol.
Oh, Surinder, anything you'd like to add?
Yes,
Surinder,
Prabhu.
he's a very learned person. Yes.
Sri Nityananda Chandram Patita Sharanadam Gauradam Tam Bhajeham. So I would like to thank you and Jayanti Mata and all the Vaishnavas. And to get some encouragement, I have a statement from Parikshit Maharaj himself. O pure Brahmanas, may you kindly know me as a surrendered soul, and let Mother Ganges accept me as one whose heart is offered to Lord Krishna.
Mm.
Let the winged serpent Takshaka, or whatever magical creation has been incited by the son of the Brahmana, bite me immediately if it so desires. May you all simply go on singing the glories of Lord Shri Krishna. Nitai Gaur Haribol, says Islam Prabhu. May you
Nice.
all go on singing Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam Katha.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Nitai Gaur
Thank
Haribol.
you
Thank
so
you.
much. Yeah, that's a fantastic blessing.
Yeah.
Very good.
Vishwam
Thank you
Hara
so much.
Vishwera Kalyana, Nitai Gauranga.
Hari 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 Bol. Thank you, everybody. Hare Krishna. Hopefully, we'll see everybody next week. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare
Okay, Hare
Krishna. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Bimal here.
Hare Krishna.
Hare-
Yes,
oh,
Hare
yes.
Krishna, Bimo.
How are you?
Good. Thank